You're listening to the Midwest Coven Cast. I'm Susie.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Marilyn.
We're three modern pagans stumbling through life and honoring our craft.
Join us in conversations about, well,
just about everything.
And we hope that you enjoy this week's episode. Welcome back, Coven.
Hello, hello.
Hope you all are having a good week.
Yes.
Good life, good month.
Yeah, you know, all the good things, despite the crazy world we're living in. So this week, we wanted to kind of revisit a topic from last season, but not exactly.
You guys did not listen to our art episode at all.
So we thought we'd make a second one.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
You know, I think part of being a witch is kind of just creativity, right? You use what you have to,
I think part of just being a
do what you need
person
to do.
is creativity. That's what life should be more about. And we've gotten so far away from doing what we creatively want to do with our lives that now we feel obligated to do what other people want us to do with our lives. I mean, it's kind of when you get sucked into a job, it's like how your life almost goes. Like when I was in a job, I shouldn't say when I was in a job, like I don't have a fucking job. But I'm just saying, like, when I worked full-time at retail, 40 hours a week, by the time I got home, I was just drained of energy, and I just wanted to eat some food, watch some TV, and space out and numb myself until I went to bed.
So
and
you
then
went at this from a totally different direction than I was thinking.
Well, I'm just getting the fact that creativity in general, I think, is like...
Exhausting?
Well, it's not just exhausting, but if you are already an exhausted person, it's so hard to tap into your creativity because there's just no energy left at the end of the day to get into that shit sometimes.
Well, I can actually agree on that.
That kind of goes to, like, where I wanted to talk about my creativity is, like, with mental health problems already, like, tapping into your creativity for me is kind of hard because I already have, like, I'm a perfectionist. Like, everything has to be just so. Mm-hmm. So if I'm trying to be creative, like, and I don't have, like, step-by-step directions that I'm supposed to follow, I don't have, like,
right, like, when you're
rules,
your own
then it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like,
I'm so, like, of both sides on creativity with this because, like, on the one hand, directions are, like, nice because it gives you, like, this sort of sense of relief that you know what direction you're supposed to be going in. There's parameters, whatever. But at the same time, like, a lot of the art that I've done that people have liked the best are things that, like, I didn't put those sorts of, like, rules upon myself.
Right.
I was, like, freely able to just sort of create what I wanted and, like, say fuck the rules and, like, I'm just gonna do what I want. You know what I mean? And that is where, like, a lot of my creative breakthroughs come in. Like, is when I get out of that comfort zone of the rules.
Well, I think that's fair because, honestly, if you think about it, if we look at a lot of the creative things in the world, a lot of them are kind of copies of each other and new interpretations of each other and this and that. Yeah. So when you get somebody that is completely out of when you get somebody that is, like, completely out of left field that's throwing in something so creative and new that isn't like everybody else's, it's kind of like an eye-opening, like, whoa, like, what did you just create?
Yeah. Like, I mean, different can be good and bad in art.
Like your mannequins. Like, I would have never guessed that you would have created those mannequins, and they're just so beautiful. Like, they're so artsy, and they're creative, so...
good use of the product. They're interesting looking.
They're interesting, and they're different and unique. And, like I said, I find that that's the most interesting art to people, is ones that are... What is that?
So even,
comments
like,
worthy or remarkable.
The thing that I find funny about that, though, is, like, that was an assignment. Like, the first one that I made it because it was an assignment. It wasn't, like, me trying to go and do something creative. Yeah. So it still started out as, like, me, like, having to do something and doing something because that's what I was told.
Well, right, but now you're actually expanding upon that, though, in your own way. So I guess, it had to start
now
there,
I'm making
though,
more of them. But,
so, like, do what you're told, but make it your own, and now that you have something cool that you made.
Yeah. So, I, like, when my instructors give me, like, projects or assignments or whatever you want to call them, sometimes I'll, like, read the directions and be like, but do you really mean this? And just do my own thing anyways. And I usually get away with it, so...
Well, I think when you're in, like, a field like that, they look for someone who can sort of think outside the box and or sort of take a general direction and, like, literally make it their own in some ways.
Yeah, I've really liked doing the asynchronous, like, since COVID hit, we've been all asynchronous, not meeting on campus, and, like, I've liked that part of it, where now I can just do my own interpretation of what I think the rules are and not have to, like, we don't see the demonstrations anymore. We don't get any of the, like, guided direction. There's less for you to
compare and contrast and thus, like, judge your own work against.
Yeah, I read what I think it means, and then that's what I do. Whereas a lot of times when we were doing in class, like, I would read what I thought it meant, and then he would teach it, and I would be like, oh, we're not on the same page at all, but, like...
But it has worked for you.
Yeah.
At least during the pandemic, so...
Yeah, I'm still getting my A's.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because I feel like more authentic work comes out that way because when you were saying that once you're shown the demonstration, then you probably have more of their ideas in your brain as far as how you're gonna, it starts to creep in and starts to manipulate your own thoughts.
Doing.
Yeah,
exactly. So
it's a lot easier for me now to see where my actual weaknesses are because before, when we're following a step-by-step tutorial of what he's doing, and this is the steps that we do to create this project and that project, and like now we just have the project and we have to create it, and like so I'm learning what my weaknesses are better now because like before I was just following what he did, and now I have to try and figure out how to do that on my own, and now I'm like
Well, it's interesting that you said the whole step-by-step thing because, like, for instance, art. Like, I have never really been a super good sorry, I shouldn't say super good person at art, but I've never been very talented, I didn't think, at art particularly. But it was funny because I had been watching Bob Ross, like I was saying, he's got that calm voice for me to fall asleep to. But anyways, but upon watching all those Bob Rosses, I was like, man, I feel like I could do that. So I did. I went and I bought one of those like $100 sets with all the paints. And I set it all up, and me and Corey were actually having a Bob Ross challenge. And so it was actually kind of funny because I only had one easel at the time. So his was kind of we were at the coffee table in the living room. We had it up on the freaking, thing. And I had the easel on my side. He had his just kind of leaned up against something on his side. And anyways, I went to go get a drink or something. We were like halfway through it. We had gotten like the lake in the sky and the clouds and the mountain. And we started to do the like snow on the top of the mountain. Holy shit, dude, that is hard to do. But anyways, so what's funny, though, about it is the fact that I went to get up and go do something, and Corey, we weren't supposed to look at each other's, and then at the end compare them and, judge each other. And he saw mine, he saw that it was way better than his, so he just, like, went and did this to his, and just, like, basically blanked it all out to blue. He's like, fuck you, I don't even want to compete with you anymore. And so I was like, oh, what? Was mine really that good?
What a spoiled sport!
I would have wanted to see his best,
I was kind of looking forward to, but at the same time, I think that what happened was the paint, because it was acrylic, it was really thick, and I think that he underestimated how much he needed on the brush, so when he went to go add to the top of his acrylic, it ended up mixing.
I think that's sort of the beauty of, like, things like Bob Ross and whatever, though, because, like, they sort of teach you, and there's, like, a lot of philosophy around this that you need to be able to sort of know and / work in with the rules before you can kind of break them for your own.
Well, the fine arts, like I took one class that was a fine arts class, and it was my drawing class, and I cried every single day because this lady would stand over your shoulder and tell you, like, well, if you were in a real art academy, they would not put up with that. That is to this, and that's to that, and this should be this way, and
so
fine art is not this.
Well, then teach me how to do better because that's your job is to teach me. I had a manager like that. It was just so negative. Like, this is not what it really is. Yeah, you suck too. So
you weren't allowed to like bend any rules in that class. So
I can understand not liking / wanting that kind of like sort of overt / really prohibitive kind of feedback because I internalize and have, as a result, become like one of my own worst critics. Like, I have written so much music, like whatever, and I have shared very, very little of it because I just am my own worst critic about it. Like, even the ones that I've shared with the public, I always find like some fault in it. Always. And it's just never perfect.
It's kind of crazy how I feel like that is a lot of the times what people do. They're their own worst critics, so they'll hold back their most creative stuff. But then it's like once they finally let go and release that wall they have up and they let people in on their creative side, they're so surprising. And people, I hope anyways, a lot of the times that they're at least like given feedback that's positive about what they're doing. And then they can kind of like, because there's going to be haters all the time too. I mean, you can't you cannot base your life on what the people that don't like what you're doing are saying about it. All you can really do is find the people that do like what you're doing and then just feed into what they are wanting and needing, because it
reminds me of like, I think we brought this up in like season 1, and Susie, it was like something you had brought up, and it was like something about how if someone has remarks about your stuff, then it is remarkable.
Yes.
So like, do your thing. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And
exactly. It's one of those things.
It's hard to get to that mindset, though.
It really is.
That's how
my
I
God,
with
you're
my
not
mannequins. Like with my mannequins, like the first one, everyone was like, "Oh, that was great." So then I made the other one, and then everyone's like, "You should make those to sell them." And I've been trying and trying and trying, and like it's such a process to try and get in the mindset to create something, to try and put a value on it, and like I don't know, to be like. Because you are your own worst judge. So when I'm trying to be like, is this like worth the amount that I want to charge for it? And then like I see all the flaws, and you start questioning it, and
I can relate to a degree with some of that though, because like even with like I think part of it for me is it goes beyond just like seeing all the flaws, but like also I have this like weird. I'm not always in the mood to do certain kinds of art.
Yeah, that too. Like, I don't want to have to do this because I have to do this.
Yes. Right. And that is like that weird line between allowing
enjoyment.
Right. So there's this weird line before you go into this and like create a business out of it. It's kind of like the Nerd Boutique. Like, I put so much time into the Nerd Boutique at the beginning because I was totally into it. But like, and I still love it, and I love the art that I make there, but like, once it becomes a lot, especially when I have 10,000 other things, because I don't make my living off of that. You know what I mean? So it's sort of draining sometimes. Not to say that I don't want people's orders, but
I think custom orders is what you kind of have to do now. It's been like pre-COVID, you could do craft shows here and there and actually do vending and sell the product that you wanted to make. You know,
those were always really fun. I enjoyed going to craft shows. That was actually because. There's something about getting your stuff out there to the people and seeing the reactions to it, because they would pick up the merchandise and be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this!" And like they would gather and show everybody, like, "Look at this one, look at this one." And it's funny because when you create something, you just see it as, you know, it's just something you created, you know, and you kind of you put it on a lower pedestal. At least a lot of us do. And then once you see people's reactions to your art, it's like. They actually really did love that. Like, oh my God. Like, I'm getting chills even just thinking
I feel like that's the same with our podcast, too. We're like, we're going to put this thing together, and, like, our moms will listen to it, and here we are with you guys, our actual fans.
Yeah, like, it's kind of one of those cool things once you get to experience that. It's what's the word? Energizing, you know?
Yeah.
It's empowering, and you want to keep going, and...
Yeah, and I agree. And then, but there's also that, it's always like this weird fine line though too, like I know I keep coming back to this fine line concept, but here's another way in which that is true, is that it's like I do not make enough money to live off of this creative endeavor at this point. Would I love to be able to? Of course, like who wouldn't, right? But it's like, how much do you put into it versus how much do you put into other things that are... You kind of need, fuck capitalism. It creates these ridiculous choices, like between what you love and what is going to make you money to do things.
So not to interrupt you, but that goes like, I really wanted to buy my bus this week. Like, I was like, we're not going to have to depend on paying rent anymore. We won't have to pay electricity. We won't have to pay a water bill. Like, we won't have to rely on nobody, like, except for food, because I can't keep anything alive. I don't know how to grow any plant of any kind.
You can come visit us and pick up your stuff.
Like, I was on it. I was like, we're going to do this. And all my dreams got, you know, we had to spend money on different things. And yada, yada. And yada, yada. My dreams are on the back burner, like usual.
You know what, though? Just keep them in there. You never know what'll happen.
I know. I'm still going to, like... secretly It's not really secret. I'm still gonna stack up my money on the side and then buy my bus.
This is happening someday.
Yeah. So it's happening. Whether they
are you gonna like build the whole inside custom to what you want and all that?
Yeah, I want to buy one that either that I would have to gut myself, but I would prefer to buy one that's already been just gutted and then I would build it out from there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I want to be super cheap about it and be like, yo, I got this mattress, put it in there, and then like build some stuff around the mattress that I already have, and then like, hey, I have these bookshelves, put the bookshelf in, and like, you know, build them around to.
Yeah, kind of be able to use sort of what you have.
Yeah, I don't want to invest it as a huge product. I like my whole idea of it is like
to go minimal.
Yeah, to not have to rely on the whole system and the money and everything.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I love the concept of that, but I don't realistically see myself being able to do it yet. Like I think like I'm slowly starting to realize the benefits of like thinking minimally and living minimally because, like, yeah, I just have always been so overwhelmed with how much stuff I have, and then it's always, like, this thing in the back of my mind, like, gotta go through that closet, gotta go through those cabinets, gotta go through all that shit that you have in that room, gotta go through all that shit that you have in that room. You know what I mean? Like, it's constantly in the back of your mind when you have so much stuff, so I can definitely see the benefit of just getting the fuck rid of it. It's actually going okay. Like, I literally have, so I went through my fridge, I went through my pantry, little roundy thing. Like, I'm starting with the food and stuff first because I feel like, and then my kitchen in general, I'm going to start with all my pots and my pans because that's the stuff that I'm noticing I'm sitting on and not using the most that I need the space for. Not need the space, but I could really benefit from using that space. And plus, the mental thing of the dishes not being done, and that's like the only thing that I don't like to do is dishes. So if I can get into the habit of having less dishes and then just getting into the habit of doing it right after I'm done cooking, I could do that, and I have done that in the past, and I prefer that, but for some reason, when I know I've got another pan that I can just pull out, then I'm going to throw this in the fucking sink, and that's going to stink in a week, so then I got to put this one in, you know what I mean? So if I just don't have that option,
I feel like
it might be better for me.
that also is another thing that inhibits my, like, wanting to get into my creative process, because then I have to get out my supplies. And, like, there's already all this shit all over, you know, mom life. There's all the surfaces are already covered with stuff. So I got to clear off a surface and then bring out all the art supplies, get the art set up, keep the art contained within the setup somehow. And then, you know, clean it all up and then...
I can feel that. I feel very blessed to be where I'm at now because I can kind of create or carve out specific spaces for specific things, which honestly is nice in a lot of ways too, because my DIY attitude kind of creates clutter because you need stuff to do your DIY things.
Yeah, it's so funny how that happens, right? You're like, let me get into this project to do this thing that's going to help clean up my life. And you buy like 20 million things to help.
I think it really bugs Trevor because I'm like a project starter, but not a project finisher.
Oh,
that's a lot of us, honestly.
That is like one of the most relatable things ever. I am notorious for this. I have so many novels I've started, songs that are halfway written, poetry books that are only half illustrated.
See, I'll go out and buy the supplies to do the project, start the project, but never finish the project, and then have all the supplies.
See, I often come back. Shit, I spent $100-something on all this fucking art, and now I have one painting that I've made. His a big old blob of blue, and then I have all these.
You should frame that blob and put it on the wall.
I do. They're both hanging up next to each other on the fucking wall in our room. Like, I beat you, motherfucker.
We should
I really didn't hang up for that reason. It was really just to be even because I'm weird with being even, and I had mine hanging up, and there was a thing on the other side.
A memory of your life,
and it is kind of a little bit of that too. Exactly.
You should bring your shit over, and we could have a paint off. The three of us record it while we make a podcast, and we can release
podcast.
Oh, we should do that too.
Oh my gosh. Record it, and then we can put it like on our YouTube channel or something.
We should do it like random like topics drawn out of a hat, and then each one of us has to like interpret that thing and paint our version of what, you know.
That would be fun.
Have like 2 or 3 words.
Maybe we can get like
our
listeners to do like to like participate in a poll. We can give them each like a little
come up with different things to throw in the hat.
Yeah, come up with different things to throw in a hat, and then we will just pick a random topic, theme, whatever prompt,
Paint off.
And then we can have a paint off. Because why the fuck not?
I like it.
And
then I can actually put some art. I can actually put to use all this art equipment that I've bought.
Precisely. And I can even get out, like, we could do it multimedia if we want. I can get out my Cricut and shit, and we'll all, like...
You know what I've really been wanting to do? I have truly been wanting to make a vision board. Like...
We should make them monthly with our planners.
Dude, seriously.
Or we could even make tiny ones in the planners. I think there's a page for that.
Ooh, nice.
Well, I want to make like a big ass
board.
Like, yeah, I want to make a big bulletin board and that I can like swap stuff in and out of. And, you know, like what I truly want to do is I saw this thing and I think it was, oh gosh, what's that guy's name from The Secret?
I don't know.
I forget what his name is.
Nicolas Cage?
John something with a V, I think, maybe. I forget. But either way, he was talking about vision boards. And he was talking... It's the one guy that talks about his story of the vision board. And he was like, yeah, I had this vision board. And then my son... I went moving and all this stuff happened. And then my son was kicking these boxes. And then he was... what is this, Dad? And he kicked his vision board. And he's like, oh, it's my vision board. And he picked it up and he looked at it and... He was like, oh, and then I looked and I saw it. I was living in the house that was on my vision board. I literally had the exact house that I, years ago had on my vision board. Anyways, So this dude talks about how you need to have not only just a vision board for your future, but also an accomplished board. So that way you can kind of get yourself
move your
into
stuff over.
Yes, exactly. As you accomplish it, move it to your accomplished board because then you can kind of keep reiterating to yourself, you know what, the things that I go after, I do achieve and I do complete them and I do get them. So you can kind of keep yourself into that attitude and that mindset of, Yeah. So anyways, I can see the benefit in both and I want to do both. I want to have a vision board and I want to have an accomplished board.
Maybe that would help me to be like, this is all the shit you haven't finished yet.
Well, but then if you look and you see, but this is all the shit that you have finished, then you can be proud of yourself because I think that's part of the problem with people nowadays and why we're so hard on ourselves. Yeah, like we're so hard on ourselves every day, like we're not happy and we're not getting the things that we want when truly I think a lot of us are getting the things that we want, we're just not enjoying ourselves. Yeah, we're not living in the moment and appreciating it, exactly. So I just want to start doing that a little bit more and like when I see an accomplished board, it actually truly puts me into that mindset of, you know what, you've been there, you've done that, you've accomplished these things, and it doesn't have to be for anybody else but yourself, like because you know what you've been through, you're the only person that does, so it's kind of nice when you can literally give yourself that credit to say, hey, you've got this, like, but anyways, I want to do that so bad. Because I'm so hard on myself every day, like, acting like I don't have this sometimes, and it's like, you know what, when you stop and you think about it, like, you're lucky, you got a lot of stuff going, like, you gotta be more appreciative and just, like, I'm loving this moment right now, like, I don't know, I'm feeling it.
Kumbaya.
But anyways, but no, when it comes to, like, creativity and stuff, I do kind of feel like when I am hard on myself, I close off, I shut down, I don't, sometimes I'll just quit things and not even do it. But if I'm a lot less hard on myself and I start to kind of, like, if I have it, like, it's a due date and I have to get it done, then I'll just force something out. But what's funny is that, like, in school and stuff, when they would have due dates, remember how we used to always, like, procrastinate, and at the very last minute, we would, shit out some project. But those were always the best projects. Those ones, we would come into class, and we would have one of the best scored projects out of the whole class, and we just, like,
I feel like this takes, like, a very specific kind of person or student that can pull that off, though, FYI.
Sometimes,
there are some times when I get students who turn shit in, and they're like, yeah, I kind of waited to the last minute, and, like, You can fucking tell.
Was not even questioning that.
Be like, you didn't need to say it. Like,
I already knew that.
There are some too that have told me in the past that they're like, and sometimes they're my most excellent writers. You know what I mean? They're like, I read stuff beforehand, but then like I wait until like the day before it's due and start actually writing. And like, it just depends on the person, you know what I mean? What their, strengths and weaknesses are, their sort of, like, process for creation. Like,
right.
I don't shit on any of it, because I totally feel that. Like, I'm a sort of last seconder sometimes. And sometimes, like you say, it's, like, the best shit that comes out of me in those moments.
Right. Yeah. What's so funny is I was just watching this video the other day, and some guy was talking about procrastination. He was like, I think the reason why some people procrastinate is because if they are a perfectionist, they are afraid that if they literally take the entire time that it takes to do a project and they turn it in, well, not just that they'll overthink it, but by the time they turn it in and they get the result that they're trying to go for,
it won't be worth it.
Not even that. If, like, say you put in all of your time, effort, energy for an entire 2 weeks that you have to put into a project, then you turn it in and you get, like, a C or a D, that means that literally all of that time, effort, energy that you put into that was worth just a C or a D to that person. Whereas if you procrastinate until the end and you only take an hour or two and you get a C or a D, then it's not that big of a deal to you because you think that's not all of what I could have done.
I think it depends.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's like a protection of our perfectionism. Yeah. Like, well, it wasn't my best that I could have put forward.
Well, it sort of depends. And I'm kind of like with my students, like, I don't like shit on them if they're like the last minute type. Or if they're, like, the type that takes, like, 2 weeks. But at the same time, like, if they're the type that takes 2 weeks, they have time to ask questions or whatever if there's, like, not clarity or things like that. Of course, it's a little bit different in, like, a creative project in some ways because, you know, there might not be someone to ask questions to, or it might be an interpretation, like, and there is no exact answer. But then again, like, there's, like, processing things. Like, how do I create this thing in InDesign, or how do I whatever, and you have to
look up some questions they could ask along the way that would be beneficial to them, regardless of their,
and those things take time to get answers and learn what you need to learn sometimes to, like, perform your creative task, or in the case of my students, like, their academic task, right? So there are benefits to working ahead of time, but the reality is that students who work ahead and do ask questions tend to do better than those seemingly who work in advance and ask no questions. You know what I mean? Although there are some that do fine, right, without asking questions.
Right, but it does seem like, well, I've noticed that, like, with management and, like, training people, like, the more questions that somebody asked me when they were training, the more I knew they were invested in their own success. Mm-hmm. So I felt like, hey, this is a person that I know is worth training because they are asking these questions. Like, some people get annoyed when they're training somebody and they ask so many questions, but it's like, no, I mean, at least this person's invested in what you're teaching them. Like, if I don't have people asking me questions, I know they're probably just, like, checked out in their own mind. Yeah, like, are you even hearing what I'm telling you? Are you even...
I'm sort of, like, careful about that because, like, some people just have questions, like, later or not in that moment. But at the same time, they're still asking questions in those instances probably because they think of them later and then ask later. Right. But, yeah.
But no, I was always the type of manager that I allowed people to feel comfortable enough to approach me to ask those even seemingly weird, dumb questions because I've been there and I've had them and I want to be able to...
And a lot of times they're not that dumb of questions.
No,
People are just annoyed because they already know how to do it and don't want to have to explain to somebody else how to do it.
And those are people that shouldn't be in management.
Right.
I remember, like, I had specific teachers.
There's too many of them that
I had a specific teacher that told me my question was dumb, and I remember what question I asked her. It was my 6th grade teacher, Miss Griffin or Griffith or something. Mm-hmm. But we were learning about either volcanoes or earthquakes. And I asked her because obviously, like, if a volcano goes off, it could cause earthquakes to happen. And I asked her, I was like, well, if there's an earthquake near a volcano, could that make the volcano erupt? And she didn't know. So she told me the question was dumb. She looked at me puzzled. And then she's like, that's not in the textbook. That's not what we're going over. And I was like... Yeah.
I had a similar experience in 2nd grade. I'm not going to say the name of the teacher, but it was a math question. And math has never been, like, my thing. The sad part is I think I'm better at math than I think I am, but because of the experience I've had in math classes throughout time, like, my perception of how good I am at math is just, like, been deteriorated.
Yeah,
so, like, in 2nd grade, I asked a question about a math thing, and I was like, I don't know if I missed it or whatever, and she was like, what, are you stupid? And I'm like,
in 2nd fucking grade.
In 2nd grade.
See,
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I remember that too.
It was terrible. And the interesting part about that is, like, up through, like, high school, I was always in, like, the honors classes for math, but, like, I was always at the bottom of those classes. Like, I was the one who always struggled with them. Honestly, I wonder if my confidence level would have been up if I had been just in, like, the regular math rather than honors.
Yeah.
Because then I would have been more the top of the class than the struggling one and the honors one. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
But it is kind of crazy how sometimes teachers literally can have that much of an impact on someone's life, detrimental or positive.
Oh.
Like, that... makes such a difference in people's lives. Like, honestly, like, I still remember that I already told you guys the story of Mr. Ainsworth and the cheaters that got better and I stormed out. But, like, yeah, it's just crazy how sometimes those certain things people never forget. And when you're a teacher, like, you can really impact somebody and build up their confidence versus doing something stupid like that. What, are you, stupid? It's a fucking kid, dude. Like, watch your attitude. Ugh.
I got bumped down to basic English in 7th grade from the regular English class because we were writing like poems and I used the word peace, like a piece of a puzzle, in the words of like peace as in like peaceful. And like it was like a play on word thing and she didn't understand it. She thought I just didn't know the difference between like peace and peace. And like she dropped me into the basic English class because of it. Like, she kicked me out of her classroom.
Wow.
So I remember that, too. Like, and
you're just not understanding my joke. It was like
a poem and, like...
So you were trying to be creative, and she was like, no.
She was like, apparently you're stupid.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. It's so weird how things happen, like, that changed. Like, oh, my goodness.
But yeah, I think in a lot of ways that has been a big part of my like perfectionism and like whatever is that experience, to be honest, kind of like scarred me from a young age, like about my ability, you know what I mean, to do things. Like, and there are some where I'm fine, but like, especially when it comes to like math or like any technical skill or something like that, I'm just like, is this right? Is this right? And if it's not right, then it's terrible, well, even if it's probably not just terrible.
Well, that kind of goes back to, do you remember Mr. and Mrs. Kane?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love them. They were so inspiring to so many people. He was the reason why I tried out for the high school. When we were at Machesney, he was our music teacher, and basically he would be the one that would handle the tryouts for the high school plays. So because there was a kids choir. And you had to try out for that. So basically, I wasn't even like gonna try out, but then like we went around in music class, and I remember like he heard me one day sing and he was like, you know, you should try out, you know. And I told him I was nervous and I don't think I'd make it, blah blah blah.
He encouraged
me to do it anyways, and I made it. And then, you know, it was one of those things. So it's funny how if you have the right teachers in your life, that they can literally inspire you and support you and lead you 100%. In different directions to start to really like having good teachers definitely makes a difference.
Oh, for sure.
Ted was the dance teacher there. I ended up taking classes from him outside of school because of how good he was, and and then I got
you were with his company for years.
And then I met Sherry, the ballet teacher, and I was in the ballet. Oh man, I freaking loved ballet. So it's just one of those things that when you get the right people,
I remember you were in Point for a while.
I wasn't in Point. That's what made me drop out.
You were trying to get into Point.
Yeah, I tried. So funny story. Remember when I was telling you guys about the girl that was homeschooled? Well, I can just say her name's Jordy, and she was the one that got me into dance. And she was the one that was actually in it for longer than I was, and she's built to be a dancer. Like she's
real tall and
skinny,
real thin.
She's very well, and her ankles, I mean, she had that curve on her ankle that everybody wants when you're in ballet. Oh my God. Yeah, anyways, so she was definitely, and her ankles were strong, and that's why she made it into Point. Well, then there was another girl that was in our class with us, Samantha, and she had gotten into the class, I think, a little bit after I had gotten into the class. Well, she made it into Point, too.
Like, quickly.
And quickly before I did. And so I think that, to me, was just like, oh my gosh.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah, like, I am not good enough, and apparently somebody else that started after me is good enough, so why do I even bother trying? And, you know, so
fuck this shit!
Fuck, I didn't make Point. I don't even want to do ballet anymore at all.
I feel like a lot of people have had those moments in their lives with a lot of things, though.
But you know what? What I would like to tell people that are in those moments, though, is, you know what? Sometimes just strive on and go on and do it anyways. Because, like, I kind of wish to this day that I would have just stuck it out and did it anyways. Because I still miss it a little bit, you know? And I mean, not to say that I can't get back into it, and I probably will eventually. But when you get older, your body does start to kind of not work the same. And so to get into dance, oh man, at 31 years old and whatever.
I still do it.
Oh, I totally still could, but at the same time, it's just kind of one of those things. It's just like a to even think about.
Well, I think too that
if I had kept it up, though, I would have been a fine thing. But.
Well, I think too that quite often for you and me, Susie, like we grew up in an environment where creativity was sort of encouraged. Like, our mom is
oh yeah, she's
totally
always been
a creative. She does like most of the things herself. Like, even like down to like fixing things at home is like, she will quite often try to do it herself before she involves anyone else. And quite often she does just fine doing it. Well, so we were kind of brought up that way.
Sorry. Well, I was gonna say, well, dude, I'll always remember growing up when she would do the craft shows. That was always the thing that she was into. Her and Aunt Bev would always be doing crafts.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting when we started doing, like, stuff that, yeah, like, we ended up going to craft shows. And I doubt that we would have ever even thought to go down that road had it not been for her, you know, because...
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky with the Nerd Boutique, like, when we started doing shows, like... We very much benefited from the knowledge that our parents had, and like sometimes in some ways the supplies they already had.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
They'd already been through it and had everything. Yeah. And then when they stopped doing it, it was kind of like, well,
their stuff was just sitting around. So
yeah, all that investment, and then like you said, all that knowledge that they had for like how to do a setup and a tear down, and
just
it was
things like invaluable, really.
Yes, well, they would always sit there and help us with the whole process too. You know, selling and being behind the counter, and oh man. So.
It was kind of like something for us to do as like 2 generations, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's kind of one of those things too that, like you're saying, like she encouraged it. Like, so when you have those people in your life that are encouraging of doing those types of things, then it becomes a way of life that you can actually foresee for yourself. Whereas there's a lot of people that their only knowledge is to grow up, get a job, work at that job until you're retired. And then you're retired, and then you can enjoy yourself, and then you die. But it's like, why live life like that? Like, why not be open to the fact that your life is yours, and if you have passions within yourself that you can put out into the world, why not be creative and try to at least pursue them, regardless of the income that it might create for you, because then at least you're having fun with your life.
It comes down to time, though, sometimes, though, too. Because you have to put your time into things that make you money in this world, unfortunately.
Well, this is true, too. Depending on the way you live. I mean, if you have to choose the lifestyle that you want to lead, too. Like Sam is saying, like, if you don't want to work if you don't want to work at a freaking job your whole life, then just find a way to live lesser then and figure out communities that you can join, or, like, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's other things.
I don't know if it's that simple for everyone, but
for Trevor, it's not easy.
I was just gonna say, I shouldn't say it's simple. Yeah, no. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I'm just getting at the fact that, you know, like, you have to be able to choose what you want. Right, exactly. Like, I've chosen to have this house, so I've chosen to have this car, so I'm gonna have to pay for that. I've chosen to have a child, so I'm gonna have to pay for that. Like, there are certain things that, once you've made your choice, you're pretty much stuck in having to maintain it. But at the same time, like,
But we feel like, I think we have a pretty good work ethic, and like that also was kind of imbued by Mom. But like you were saying, I think we talked about this before, but you were kind of like, I think there's a video of you or something where you're like, let me do it.
Yes. So when I was a baby, I was watching some home videos, and Mom was giving me a bath in the sink, and she was shampooing my hair, whatever, and she started to, shampoo it, and then I was like, no, let me do it. And I started like shampooing my own hair, and I went like this, and I like pulled my hair like out on 2 sides. It looked like I got 2 little devil horns on there, like, no, let me do it. But anyways, so I've always kind of had that no, I want to do it attitude.
Well, I mean, it's probably a little better than mine, which is like when I was a toddler, every night pretty much I would sneak out of bed and then open up a drawer and like start pulling out clothes, and my mom would come in and she'd be like, oh, because like it's all like tiny people clothes that have been folded and put away, and I'm like, no, Mom, Mir float it. I'll float them, you know.
Never help float clothes.
I help float.
That's one thing that I want to do with Kelly is I want to do a journal, because I loved when Mom did the journaling and she would read us those stories.
That was so creative to me too, like that she did that. So we should probably explain why it's different.
Yeah, I mean.
Do you want to go ahead since you brought it up?
Well, so basically, so my mom, when we were kids, she started it better with Marilyn and Scott because she was a fresh, she was a fresh mom and had all that fresh mom ambition in her. Yes, exactly. She did it with me too, but just not for quite as long. But, yeah, basically she would do a journal where, like, when there was a funny story or something that happened for the day, she would write it down in the journal. And so then when we got older, we each had our own journal up in the cabinet. And so she would have us grab our journal, and she would come and read with one of the passages in the journal with us. And, yeah, just kind of...
Well, I think you've missed out on, like, the most, like, interesting part about this, in my eyes, though. You didn't say it.
Yeah,
is that it's written from our perspective. Like, she didn't write it from a third-person perspective. She wrote it, like, as though it was us writing in the journal.
See, I did not remember that, I guess.
Yeah, so she wrote, like, I went to, Mama Cheryl's today, and I was really bad, and I did X, Y, or Z, you know what I mean? But she, like, wrote it like she was us writing it.
Oh, okay. See, I guess I didn't quite remember that.
I'll have to find mine and maybe, like, share some passages on TikTok or something.
That would be cool. Because, yeah, like I said, I don't quite remember it being, like... I don't remember the perspective of it. I just remember the journals and the stories.
Oh, okay.
And, you know what I mean? I don't remember what perspective she wrote it
Yeah, she totally wrote it, like...
You English major, you would remember that.
Well, I think it's, like, an interesting part of it, because it's not like she said, oh, Marilyn went here today, or Susie went and did this, or, like, whatever. Right. It's like, I did this, and, like, whatever. So it's, like, I don't know, it's just sort of interesting.
It was the cooler way for us to read it as kids, because it was more, like, in our own perspective.
I did this, yeah.
That's adorable. Like...
She really is creative like that, though. Like, even right now, she does all those cards.
Oh, yeah.
She'll just make cards for the old folks' home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like your mom's always... Well, my mom, too, because my mom... They did the spiders together. Yep. They did angels. They did those jar things. Yeah, the snow globes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So...
It is kind of cool how the two of them have always, been able to work together and do things outside of work.
I think this just sort of illustrates, like, as we were saying before, like, it's sort of imbued with us, with our mom, but also yours too. And really, it came down through, like, the matriarchal line on that side. Because, like, Grandma, she's always been a sewer and a cooker. And, like, she's super creative. Gardener, yeah. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Homemaker.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And, like, even, like, her sisters and stuff, like, quilting.
Well, I remember Mom even talking about their Grandma Violet was always into quilting and sewing and crafts.
100%.
Yep.
Yep, it's definitely been something passed down to us, like, for sure. And it comes in a variety of ways, like, like sewing and cooking and planting. And
when I was a kid, I remember I was into weaving for a while. I was into crocheting for a while. And then, it gradually went on to sewing.
To be honest, very much.
I like to sew.
Yeah. I liked, like, the creative arts. Like, Susie and I were both in, like, fine arts sorts of stuff. You started a little younger than I was, but I was, like, in middle school. And, like... I would, I loved, like, like the art classes, like painting and sculpting and, like, whatever. For me, though, like, we had to make choices along the way in the Fine Arts Academy, and I kind of, like, tended towards music because I already played the flute and choir, but I could only be in, like, choir and band, or, like, choir and art, or band and art.
And see, that's kind of the silly part about school, when you can't...
It limits you in some ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like, homeschooling is so great.
Yeah. But I've still kind of gotten into, like, those kinds of arts here. Like, I have, like, paintings I've done, and, like, I like to do upcycling, like, furniture.
Yes. I love that you redid that in the bathroom, and then the dresser.
Vanity and the dresser. And I have some other stuff that I still need to finish up. You may have noticed the curio cabinet thing in there. We finally, like, took the... fixtures and stuff off of, and I got, like, a spray painter thing, so we can finally use that to cover it with a new color. I like to sew and all kinds of stuff.
That was one thing that I was gonna say. So the Fine Arts Academy for me, it started when I was in 4th grade. So when I was in 3rd grade, they said that, hey, for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, there's this other school that you could go to. That's the Fine Arts Academy and the Academic Academy, but you have to try out. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to, because I had gone to my regular school and I had all my friends there, and I didn't want to leave there to go to a new school and make all new friends. But then I realized that there were some of my friends that were at the school that were going to go over to that school too, including Mary. And so I was like, oh, this might not be so bad, And so I ended up going and trying out, and you had to put together, like, a whole portfolio with your art in there. You had to try out for dance. You had to try out for drama.
That's terrifying. Just having to do choir, I did not. I dropped out of choir because we had to audition once it came to high school, and I was like, nope. Yeah. You can keep your choir. I'll go do something else.
I liked drama class, though. I don't know why, but I will never forget. I had to do a monologue. It was the first time I ever did a monologue, and it was so funny because I thought I was so creative. So I was up in the attic, and I was giving some sort of a speech about, like, my family, and I forget what the even context of the scene was, but I remember I was in the attic, and I had to come up with props, and I put baby powder on my props. That way at the beginning when I opened the scene, I could blow the baby powder off like it was dust. Yeah, but I thought that was just the coolest thing. Like, I'm so creative with my prop usage. Can't you tell I'm in this old attic because of this baby powder dust? And then I started out my monologue and did my thing. And, I mean, it was very uncomfortable, but it,
yeah,
it was definitely a memory. I remember when I was in choir, I actually got solo one time. I never really tried out for solos because I was always such a fucking pussy.
I tried out for one ever, yeah. So I didn't. It wasn't a thing that I raised my hand for.
I think I got speaking parts more often because in the Fine Arts Academy we traveled from schools to school to school to school, and we would put on performances.
Right.
And sometimes in the in between music, there was little, like, speaking parts. I think I got more speaking parts than I got solos, but I'm pretty sure I actually got one solo one time, and I think it was just a one-time thing because I was like, fuck that shit, I ain't doing that again.
Solos every once in a while, but...
you probably could have got a lot of solos.
I was like, so here's the thing, I'm a terrible auditioner, though, especially when it comes to singing, because I get so nervous that I psych myself out.
Oh,
and
I
then
can see that.
It's bad. But anyways, I think one of the funniest things about choir, though, is, like, I look back at some of the videos and you see some of the, like, really dumb, like, dances we do and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, hey, hey, hey. All our spirit fingers.
Do you remember this move? this, and then the this, and then this, and then this, and then this,
spirit
and then
fingers,
this.
Spirit fingers.
Not that any of them can see this, what this is.
No, they're just like, what are they doing?
This is getting cut out. That's what this is.
It reminds me of this, like, trend on TikTok right now. They give, like, they tell people who are dancers to interpret what they're saying. And they'll be like, dookie, yeah, ooh, yeah, left, right, left, duty, boop, boop, boop. And, like, then, like, they'll have, like, dancers, like, interpret what they probably mean. It's like one of my favorite trends right now. It's amazing.
Oh man, I gotta check that out. That sounds like my gig. Right
so
there.
like another type of performance art.
Yeah, go for it. Let's hear all about it.
So another space that I like feel comfortable in creatively is doing flow art with my hula hooping.
Oh yeah, you own lots of hula hoops.
Yeah, I got rid of a lot of them. I went crazy at one point. Was like, I'm gonna buy all the hula hoops, but they were like the cheap Walmart ones.
Dude,
I only have one, like, hula hooper's hoop, and it's my least favorite one. Like, I ordered it on Etsy, it was, like, custom wrapped and all this, but, like, it got here, and it was warped, and it's never been circular, and it's awkward to hoop with, and...
Dude, I need to ask you about mine. So, funny story, before the, COVID hit, I actually saw a hula hoop that had, like, the, like, stringy... yarn that has like little frillies off of it. It was like wrapped in that and it looked all like boho, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this hula hoop. So I bought this hula hoop, right? I get home and I go into my kitchen, that little area in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Off to the side. And I stand there and I'm like, I'm gonna hula hoop for the first time in years, right? I fucking tried to swing that thing around my hips. It went right to the goddamn floor. It was like, and I tried again and I tried again. I'm like, oh my god, I can't even fucking hula hoop anymore. Maybe it has to do with the plastic versus it being wrapped with fabric and not. Maybe it sticks to the.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the surface area is
that sounds like a weird hoop.
That's why they got rid of it, because it doesn't fucking work.
Well, it needs to be able to, like...
I'll have you look at it and see if it's...
Yeah, I feel like it being wrapped in yarn would make it not...
Yeah.
Well, it's just twisted around. Like, it literally was just around the... I mean, it looks like somebody took a hula hoop and then, like, wrapped their own shit around it and tried to do something with it, failed, and said, fuck this, I'm giving it to the Goodwill.
Well, they could have also...
like, oh, it looks so boho.
They could have also, like, when they were wrapping it with that, made it, like, wonky or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true, too. But either way, I was so inspired thinking that I was going to fucking do some hula hooping, and I was like... I failed.
We should have done that. I mean, we planned to, and then like the kids are going all directions. But we need a hula hoop sometime.
We should. I need help.
I did it like the whole time I was pregnant, but since I gave birth, I haven't been good at picking my hoop up that often.
Yeah.
So
she's like, I'll get back into it and I'll teach you how to do it again. Because
I'll sit outside and write some poems while you're doing it or something. Because that sounds like something I'm definitely like not interested in trying to do.
She's like, fuck you and your hula hoop. I'm not doing it.
I'll watch you guys though. It might be fun to like watch you.
Spirit fingers.
You can video us so we can put it on as extra content. You guys can see us fail at hula hooping while Stan's over there.
Dylan is pretty good at dancing. Like, he does all the
ribbon dance and
he's
he's
an interesting guy to watch.
I'd be able to do. I could flail a ribbon around and make some cool.
I'll be like a more creative version of a cheerleader and like, freestyle some poems at you. Like, here is Susie trying to.
She'll do TikToks.
But every time she squats down to pick it up, she looks like she's about to poop.
Well,
that's what you get.
She just likes her poop jokes, is what it is.
I mean, duh. Everybody knows this. I am 5.
That's right.
We've discussed this before.
Oh, I don't think I mentioned in my birth story at all how I pooped on Trevor or like me or any of the poop.
Okay, so
I want to hear all about your birth poops.
So
tell me all about them, please.
I was wearing, like, before my water broke, but like I had a really strong contraction. I thought I was gonna poop myself, so I was like, I'm gonna wear one of those like adult diapers that I had for like after birth,
right? Just in
but
case.
I was like, I'm gonna put one of those on now because I completely feel like if I have another contraction, I'm gonna shit my pants. Because I was in transition about to have the baby and like didn't even realize I was that far along. But so I went to try it, like I had the contraction and I was sitting there with that on and I was like, now that I have this on, I don't want to shit my pants. I'd rather shit on the floor. And I was like, Trevor, you need to get this diaper off me so I can shit on the floor. I was like, I don't want to do it in my pants. That's like,
I don't want to
change my mind.
It's more demoralizing than I realized.
Just like, now that I have come to my senses, get this fucking shit off of me.
Yeah, but I didn't like poop. I didn't shit my pants. Like I pooped like a little bit, and it like he like had to clean it off of me. And then it happened again, like while I was giving birth, like right before he came out, and I was.
So did you poop on your baby?
No, he cleaned me up, and like he said, I just kind of was like, well, thanks.
You know what?
Men, but ultimate
if
DIY.
You try, if you want to birth out a baby, you know what? There's gonna be probably some fucking poop.
That's part of like. So, like, my DIY attitude was part of me having the home birth, which also meant that I had to clean up my own home birth. And, like, Trevor still thinks that it's disgusting that I birthed my placenta in the spaghetti pot. But,
fuck it.
Do what you gotta do. Make use of what you have.
That's right. Had to go to something.
We kept it in the fridge overnight, and then I ate it. It's fine.
It's fine, you guys. You put it in a pill capsule.
I got it encapsulated. We went to a doula and she said that like it was during COVID, so I just dropped it off on her doorstep and then she picked it up and then she dropped off the pills on my doorstep when it was ready and it worked out really well.
I thought about doing that. I wasn't sure. I don't know why I just was like, no, I'm not going to do that, like.
Yeah, she said that I had a big placenta though because she like took pictures of it all and she was like, this is huge, and then she told me how many pills and it's like it was like more than like the
normal amount.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah.
That's right.
And like really,
I did.
Yeah, right, I did.
There's a lot of this that goes down to your DIY spirit, Sam, because I mean, even like homeschooling, that's a DIY project if I ever heard one.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest projects I've taken on, for sure. And I mean, I definitely am glad that I did take it on because, like, it wasn't good for him. And just being in school and, like, pushing him to do school, it was, like, breaking him down because it was, like, he would come home and...
It was killing his spirit.
Be a hot mess.
Yeah.
That, like, me being a first-time mom, I didn't know, like, what do I say to put him back together? Like, why I don't know why the school allows him to get this distraught to begin with, you know, which so it wasn't really their fault. It's their process that they have to go through. But
you had to figure out a way to help make it work.
Yeah. I had to deal with the results of that every time he came home and then have to send him back there the next day.
Yeah.
So now we don't do that. Now we stay home and we do whatever we want. And it's great. And he's reading chapter books and he's asking to learn different subjects. So we kind of like do what he's interested in and learn on those things. And
yeah, well, I mean, I think in some ways that you just have to do that because the system isn't set up necessarily to deal with all people's, you know, needs, unfortunately. And at the same time, you need to figure out ways that work for him. And I think that was one thing of been on pursuit to do that. So
yeah, when he was in school, he was kind of behind on certain things, but he wasn't behind because he didn't know the content. Mm-hmm. He was behind because he didn't want to conform to the test system and the way they had to do this now, this here, right now, this is how you do it. And
he needs some,
and he wanted to do it his own way when he wanted to do it, when, you know, like he knew how to do all the things. And that's like why he manipulated the system so much, I think, because he was smarter. Like he knew it, so he was like, why do I have to do all this? All this work.
It reminds me of Scott, actually, a lot. Because, like, I mean, he is, like, whip smart. Like, our brother is so smart. Mm-hmm. But he's very, like, he doesn't conform with, like, authority and, like, the system in place, necessarily. It doesn't work for him. Like, he needs to be invested in what he is learning. Yes. But when he gets invested, he is invested. And he knows, like, just about anything you can think of about that topic. And he can sit there and he can talk to you about it for, like, hours if you let him.
Days if you wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, he is mad smart. And, like, he doesn't, like, his sort of inquisitive nature has sort of grown as he's gotten older too. Like, I mean, there were times when we were living together that he would, like, borrow, like, books from my bookshelf that are, like, philosophical in nature or about, like, literature, like, analyzing literature and things like that. But he's very interested in a lot of things, and his reading and comprehension and the things that he's interested in rival probably some of my colleagues, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like at a university. Like that's what he wants. He's
so intelligent and he
soaks in knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, Dylan retains things really well. Like his memory, like, which is kind of, like, frustrating sometimes being a mom because, like, he'll remember everything. And
you said this. I did say that.
Yeah, like, there's no fooling that.
That's funny about kids, though. They're so, like, authentic and genuine and just out there. They're blunt. They let you know, man. They're kind of assholes sometimes, but, you know.
But they're usually telling the truth.
Yep, they're being honest. They're telling you how it is. No filters with a freaking kid.
But I'm just very distinct on the things that I want. So if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. So now I had my own birth, and now I'm doing my own schooling, and now we're going to go run away in our van and start our own colony, and nobody's invited. That's fine.
I can relate to a certain degree with that. You know, like, if you want it done right, do it yourself. I've been a manager. I've been, like, I can delegate tasks to a degree. But, like, it's very hard for me to do it because I know that nobody's going to do it as well as I can do it. Or it won't be done the way that I want it to be done. And, like,
I had to let a lot of that shit go when I was at the front end. I learned a lot of that. Because otherwise it was me out there pushing fucking carts. And me doing the checkouts. Me on the registers. Me doing everything.
That's kind of like the big solo polyamorous part of my personality is, like, I want to do my life the way I want to do it. And no matter who is in my relationship calendar, whatever, they shouldn't matter. Like, I'm going to do what I want. And if they're there for that, then they're there for that, you know?
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, and I'm, like, kind of there's a part of me, I've been better at it over the years, but, like, just delegating has not always been my favorite thing to do. But the bad part about that is, like, then you're doing the job of like multiple people, because when you're put in a position where you're supposed to have help, if you're doing most of the job for them, then you're not getting the help that you need, and instead you're just fucking wearing your own self out. But thankfully there have been, like when I was working in the office at the university that I work at, before I started teaching there, I had, you know, really, really good graduate assistants and things, and it got to the point where like they got good, so I trusted them to like do it how I wanted them to do it.
Yeah,
like,
that's when you know you're good at your job as a manager, though. When you can trust your employees to do their job and not have to babysit them.
True.
That you trained them efficiently.
Well. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In a language they understood. Like
yeah. Well, honestly, that's some of the things that I was, like, because there was always so much going on at the front end, I drowned myself in thinking I needed to be the one doing it all, like you were saying. I was drowning myself. And I think that is ultimately what got to me in the end, probably, was just that I should have been better about just, if this person is not good at their job, pull that person aside and just have that meeting report.
Help them become good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Like, some people, so it kind of comes back to the very first episode. I kind of sound like an asshole because I talked about something like, you know, if people aren't, you know, you can tell sometimes when people are, you know, just there to have a job, you know. And I didn't mean it in the sense that, because like you were saying, there are people that just need to have a job. But when I was in management, what I experienced was that there were some people that, like I was saying kind of earlier in this conversation, there were people that you could tell were invested in themselves enough to interpret the training and to ask the questions that they needed to ask and to better their own skills so that they could get and move on with whatever path they were on.
Right.
And I was more than happy to help those people. But sometimes
they make your job harder if they're not doing the job as it needs to be done.
And those are the people that I was talking about that drain my energy for no reason, because I didn't like to necessarily see some kid that was just coming in to get a job because mom said I had to get a job, and then they're going to go fuck off in the parking lot all shift long and then want me to not write them up or not talk to them about, you know, doing their job. And that's my job, is to do that, you know? So it's like one of those things that it just gets exhausting and tiring. And but if you're good at your job as a manager, you can take a person that is like that or isn't like that, and you can either say, hey, you know what, take this training and I'll invest in you and you're going to get better, or you can take a person like that's not even going to take the training investing, and then you can just kind of, unfortunately, train them out.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't get it, they're not going to get it, then you got to get rid of them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that part of this comes down to, like, even in our DIY-ness, like, sometimes we need to recognize that there are, like, things that we need help with sometimes.
Yeah.
Which, like, I brought you guys in. Yeah. Or mom, or, like, Aunt Bev, your mom. You know, like, for the craft shows and stuff. Like, I knew that there were just things, like, I couldn't do it myself, like, completely. So thank you guys for...
Well, thank you for all that you do for this podcast, because you do the editing, you do a lot of the both of you do the
I demand to do it all ourselves.
Yeah, the two of you, that's why I don't do anything. You guys don't trust that I do it right. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, but you've been better, though, too, like, since you got your iPad. I have been
getting better.
Yeah, you're doing your iPad drawings are super cute, so...
You know, honestly, that is something that I'd recommend to people that are into drawing. Okay, hold on. This thing is a freaking investment. I should start with that. But if you are, like, in the past kind of into art and you kind of want to dabble back into art, oh man, this iPad has, like, totally changed my life.
Yeah. Because you got, like, Procreate, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's called Procreate, and it's on the iPad Pro, and basically, and I got the Apple Pencil with it. Yeah. And it's funny because, like, sometimes the silliest things will come to my mind, and I'll just jump on there and do it, and it ends up looking kind of cooler, ends up looking kind of good. And it's
I have to say, like, as someone who, I also have the Pro and a pencil, and I sort of use it for, I have not InDesign. I have Affinity Designer on it, which is a similar-ish kind of program to Procreate, but a little bit more. I just couldn't start there because
I was very unfamiliar with that program. I know you're very familiar with that program, but that's all thumbs to me.
I need to, like, teach you sometime, because I think there's more functionality in it.
And I know Adobe programs, so
and that's
what I'm going to school for is Adobe.
Yeah.
And see, I'd probably be all thumbs with that too.
Yeah. I mean, like,
this is just so user-friendly and quick and easy. Again, I don't have all of the knowledge. Like, I remember when I pulled up, I think it was some of the pencil aspects, and you had already known about the jitter and known about all the different
Like,
all those different words.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even remember all of them, but jitter.
Different brush settings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I need to play with mine more, though. So I wrote this, like, chapbook of poetry, like, a while back. It's all, like, all the poems are written, but I've been, like, slowly doing, like, a sketchbook version of it, where I have, like, sketches around the poems and whatever. Ooh. Very Shel Silverstein-y, I guess, now that in retrospect.
Hey.
But they're not, like, the best drawings. They're, like, literally sort of, like, doodle-ish.
Yeah.
And so, but they have to do with or, like, represent something about the poem or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I have, like, a third to half of them illustrated, but, like, I need to finish them.
Girl, I would be very interested to see that. You said it's poems?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl, I love poetry.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when me and Sam were younger, we used to write poems that were so silly, but they were so funny. Like, when we go back and read them nowadays, it's just so great.
So basically, I wonder why they were so silly.
And, pie and exploding pie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had some really great, interesting ideas.
Yes, we were very creative and in tune with our
creative. Like, share some of them on social media if you guys have any of them that are appropriate to share.
Oh, they're not appropriate. We were very inappropriate as children.
I don't know, like, how inappropriate, though.
I'll look up one and see. The Man on the Moon might not be too bad. Question mark?
I mean, yeah, they might.
We'll see.
Yeah.
To be determined. Yes. Maybe they'll be shared with Olivia.
But honestly,
how much do we want to, like, bear of our childhood?
Yeah, right? But no, honestly, I would like to get more into poetry because I love to. I haven't read poetry. Well, it sounds like that.
I think that's something that the three of us kind of share is having dabbled in
poetry. Because like, we wrote those, like, silly poems, and then I don't even think it's a real thing now, but it was like some Poetry of America that you would, like, submit your poetry to, and they like would publish it in a book, and like all of the poems that I ever submitted to them all got accepted into the book. So I think it's a scam, and they just accept anybody.
It is a scam. I have also had, like, 2 poems published. Yes, if you buy the book and they'll special print it for you, I think is really what it is.
Yeah, I see. You're published, but you're also the only customer type thing.
Well,
you and everyone who else is published this month, like,
right? I think
our clientele.
The deal. They weren't exactly discerning, I don't think, about...
Yeah, I never bought the book because I was a child submitting my childhood poetry, you know?
Yeah.
But they're taking advantage.
But still, it felt cool at the time, and it helps you invest. Like, I mean, not to say that was...
I still have some of those certificates in my, like, little treasure box. Maybe I'll put those on my childhood mannequin.
Right. That'd be fun.
Yeah, because I still need more stuff.
Childhood mannequin?
Yeah, I have one for, like, my child, and then I'm doing the woman, which is going to be, like, one of my pregnant full-size ones, and I have a full-size child one. And so I have a big, like, trunk of all my old, like, artwork and random other shit that I just collected over my life. So that's what I'm decorating my next 2 mannequins with. And
dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
That'd be a cool
creative.
set to sell.
It's so creative.
Sell it, hopefully, to my mother or somebody.
But no, that's freaking awesome. Yeah. I feel like now I feel like I want to keep some of the shit that I was thinking about maybe getting. No, I'm just kidding.
Make a mannequin.
I mean, I keep all kinds of my stuff from when I was young for, like, inspiration, or really, I've just, like, have
wristbands, tickets, old, like, I have tons of photographs.
Nostalgia, which I think we need to do an episode about. But yeah, like, I keep all kinds of my stuff.
Memorabilia,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can all bring a couple of things to share on the podcast.
Yeah.
I should find, like, some of the books I started writing when I was in 6th grade.
By the way, do we light the candle?
No, we didn't.
You know what? I'm sorry, but candle. I'm sorry, you're done for this. Well, should we? I mean,
we'll do it when we can. Whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, candle.
I have a lot of stuff on my table right now. It's a little crowded, so I'd be a little bit afraid of the fire hazard it would pose at the second anyway, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
it's a ritual. We also need to do another one on rituals, routines, and habits to update everyone on our new habits and rituals that we've been doing since the last time we recorded about that subject. So we're going to redo art, we're going to redo rituals, we're going to just redo all these other season episodes we've already done.
We should do a poll of what we want more subjects to be, though, on our Facebook channel.
We totally should,
do a poll of suggestions for our next episodes in the season.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we totally should. Suggestions. We want to know what you guys want to hear us chit-chat about.
Yeah, we've got a list of stuff, but, like, if you have more interesting things for us to talk about, we will we'll take it on.
Yeah,
because why not, you know?
We always talk about anyways. Like,
yeah, like we're always in our own bubble, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, plus we're Midwesterners.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on in the world. Like, maybe there's other.
You want to know our opinions on things? Let us know. We'll talk about it.
Or not. We're not making commitment.
We're not making commitment. We like to play it loosey goosey up in here. We do it ourselves, all of our decision making.
That's right, we're do-it-yourselfers.
We are do-it-yourselfers. You know, speaking of do-it-yourselfers, we're getting to that point where we probably should do our small business shout out, or, you know, something that we like or whatever. And I think we should do a small business this week.
For sure.
Yes.
I love small business shout outs.
Yeah. They are also, in their own sense, DIYers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So
entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs. They a lot of times do their own design work and shit. This week, I think we should shout out Cunning Linguist Co. So this is, by total transparency, someone I went to grad school with. And she creates these sort of kink, sex-friendly, inclusive sorts of pins, and they're sassy and they're fun. Well, she started as pins, I should say. She now does also like stickers and patches and masks and
I've been
all kinds of
tempted
stuff.
to buy tons of her stuff. Like, I go through her. She has so many options to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember when she first did her Kickstarter, I actually ended up, they were all like kink positive pins, and your brother is Dom in the BDSM community, so I bought him like pretty much the starter set that she had, I think, but they were all like kink positive and like whatever, and he liked them a lot. He still has
I remember
them on his
that.
things, I think. So I definitely recommend giving her a look. You can find her at cunninglinguist.co. cunninglinguist.co. And she, like I say, pins and all kinds of stuff. She's so fun. Check her out and, you know, show her some love. Follow her. She's on different places too. Like, I know she has a Facebook page and whatever, but you can buy directly from her at cunninglinguist.co. Yeah, on her website.
And hopefully, if you guys didn't listen to our first episode about art, you guys should go back and listen to it, because it doesn't have that many, it's very unpopular right now.
Yeah, we have so many that have like lots and lots of views, or listens rather, but the art one, I mean, it's not that it has no views. It has
about 50 maybe?
50 or 60 or something like that, but like it's way behind all the rest. So I don't know if it was just like a bad week, or
maybe I might have talked about like some period stuff, and that might have scared some people away, but guys come back. It's not the whole episode. Just jump forwards when it gets to the weird period stuff, and then
just
you know, honestly, maybe that's what it is.
I thought about it,
you know what? We're three ladies.
We might have scared somebody away.
This is our lives.
We just talked about our vaginas on the last episode again, so hopefully we'll see how many views that one gets.
Well, with that,
bye, y'all.
Thanks for stopping by.
Our three vagina having ladies.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. We will chat with you all next time. Blessed be everybody.
Blessed be.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Midwest Coven Cast.
Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you love us, consider leaving us a review.
You can also join our coven by following us on social media.
At Midwest Coven on Twitter, and at Midwest Coven Cast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
You can also find us at MidwestCovenCast.com.
Until next time, Coven, blessed be.